Well, everyone, it is now time. Time for me to look at one of the greatest, one of the most classic, and most iconic horror franchises of all time, Nightmare on Elm Street. So, let's start off at the very beginning. 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by Wes Craven. What a movie this is. Now, I have to admit, when I watched this movie for the very first time on DVD, I actually thought it was actually kind of interesting. I mean, seriously. Now, of course, the Nightmare on Elm Street series came out, well, sometime after the success of the Friday the 13th franchise. But to me, I think the Nightmare on Elm Street series is way different from all the other horror classics and franchises. Main reason, its villain, Freddy Krueger, played fantastically by Robert Englund. I mean, seriously, Freddy is one of the most iconic and most classic horror villains of all time. And you want to know what makes him different? Well, it's basically when he does his killings. In other franchises like Friday the 13th and Halloween, usually killers just do their killing at night and stuff like that. But see, Freddy takes it one step further. He kills you when you're asleep. Not just wait until you're asleep to come into your house and kill you. Oh no. He kills you in your dreams, to be more specifically. And that's what makes him a very interesting and unique villain. So, what is the basic plot of this movie, you ask? Well, it's pretty much an introductory movie to Freddy and some of the other characters that we'll be seeing. Mainly Nancy Thompson, played by Heather Langenkamp, who then will reprise the role in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and also play, quote-unquote, herself in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which will be the last of the Nightmare on Elm Street films until the 2010 remake. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, like I said, I'm not reviewing the remake, so don't even ask. So anywho, the movie pretty much starts off with the introduction of Tina, who of course is, as you probably guessed, is not going to be the surviving character from that movie. And of course, we then get introduced to Freddy, played by the aforementioned Robert Englund, who was awesome, by the way. And as Tina and her friends, Nancy and Glenn, and Tina's boyfriend Rod, start to have more nightmares, they ultimately start realizing that maybe Freddy is out to get them for a particular reason. And also, before I move on, the guy who plays Glenn in this movie is Johnny Depp. Yes, the same Johnny Depp from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Rum Diaries, Rango, Sweeney Todd, and whatever the hell that guy's been in. His career started with this movie. Yeah, I am not kidding. Yeah. Of course, well, not much to say about that, but wow. So anywho, as Nancy's friends die off one by one, she starts to learn more about Freddy, and that Freddy was a convicted child killer who was originally going to be a child molester, but instead of going that route, they made Freddy child killer. But they saved the whole child molester thing for the remake, which, again, I'm not going to review, so don't even ask. But then Freddy was released due to a technicality, but then everyone found out about that, got really mad, so they decided to burn Freddy alive, but then he survived due to some dream demons, foreshadowing to what we're going to find out if Freddy's dead, the final nightmare, by the way. And so Freddy sought his revenge by killing the kids of the people who pretty much decided to burn him alive. Yeah. Nice going there. So ultimately, Nancy does defeat Freddy in some very interesting, unique ways. I mean, after all, she sets up booby traps and tries to lure Freddy into the real world where he'll be more vulnerable. So that way Nancy's dad, played by John Saxon, by the way, can arrest Freddy and just get rid of that fucker once and for all. And yes, I know I swore, I'm sorry. Oh well. But anywho, eventually Nancy ultimately realizes that the only way to get rid of Freddy is to just, well, not believe in him anymore and just take away his powers and to not be afraid of him anymore. And pretty much, that's how it works. Yes, that's how Freddy's defeated. By Nancy not being afraid of him. Wow. Interesting. So anywho, after that, you might think that the movie's over and everything's all happy and happy-go-lucky, but no. They ultimately had to find a way to add the whole sequel possibility thing. So, and I have to admit, they actually did it really well. Not to mention those creepy jumper girls singing, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, and yada yada yada. Okay, we get it. So, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. What do I think about it? I think it's actually really great. As a start to a franchise, it does so well. I mean, it introduced to the main villain, as well as the rules of the dream world. Mainly, whatever happens to you in the dream world also happens to you in the real world, which is kind of nice. And also, since the dream world is Freddy's realm, if you try to defeat him in the dream world, well then you're pretty much screwed. But, if you try to lure him into the real world, then pretty much he's screwed and you're not. Interesting, huh? And let's not forget that this movie had one of the most classic lines in cinema history. And that is, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Classic. I mean, to me, that line is right up there with Sigourney Weaver's line from Aliens. Which, you don't know what that line was, well, then just watch my review of Aliens and you'll find out what it is. So there you go. So, anywho, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, in my opinion, is probably the best horror movie of all time. And like I said, as a start to a franchise, it does a really good job of it, too. Again, establishing who the villain is, and also the rules of the villain's realm, which is kind of nice. I mean, after all, you don't really get that in other horror movies like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or even Halloween. But no. Freddy operates in a different world with different rules. That's what makes him a classic horror villain and even a more classic horror icon. So, you might be thinking, well, after that good of a movie, you might think the sequel would probably pick up on Nancy and stuff like that, and also how she tries to keep escaping from Freddy, right? Well, no. Not at all. And trust me, the sequel to this movie is so atrocious and so bad that I am probably going to cringe while doing the review of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. So, yeah. Just be warned, my facial expressions just might be the same as when I reviewed Star Trek V. So, until I look at the cringe-inducing sequel, live long and prosper, peace out, bye.